If you're tired of living the sad life of an AMD miner, and you're ready to get rid of those blockchain drivers, this video is for you. The day we have all been waiting for is finally here. If you're an AMD miner, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say, please get rid of the blockchain drivers. Well, guess what? Gandalf 3000 has done it. Version 0.9.2 of Cast XMR. As you can see, support for Adrenalin driver 18.4.3 at almost the full hash power of the blockchain driver. So I was able to get an extra 1,000 hash going to Cast XMR from XMR Stak. As you can see, the test bed that we're going to use for this video is a 5-card Vega rig that it's got some questionable cards in it. So what I mean by questionable is they don't hash exactly like you would expect them to hash. This could be settings, this could be a multitude of things. I have another 5-card rig that hashes right at 10,000. Those are good solid cards. All the settings that you would normally use, 1932 on the 2 threads in XMR Stak, 2016, they'll run it all. Stock clocks, undervolted obviously, but they'll actually do what you expect them to do. 1900 to 1950 hash per Vega 56. So we're going to go ahead and give this an objective test. You saw the before results. Now let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial, and we're going to go through and set it up the way that should be set up with Cast XMR, and we'll see, based upon what we find, if this is a better setup or not. All right, let's get started. So the first thing that we want to do is download the AMD drivers from the AMD website. I'm going to scroll down. We're going to look for Radeon RX Vega series. Obviously, if you're running 500 series cards or 400, 470, 480s, you would get the respective drivers from these locations. So we're going to go ahead and download, or go to the download page, and we're going to see 18.3.4, released 3/26/2018, latest and greatest. Let's go ahead and download it. No, thank you. All right. While that's downloading, we're going to go ahead and go over here. This is Gandalf 3000's website. It's gandalf3000.com. This is the gentleman that has coded the Cast XMR and made our lives a whole lot easier. We're going to go ahead and download Cast XMR 0.9.2. So one other thing we want to do is go grab the DDU uninstaller and go to wagnardsoft.com. This is the one that I've downloaded from before, so don't believe there's any viruses or anything, so that's where we're going to grab it from. 1708.4. Click that, and official download right here. Alright, so the first thing we want to do, guys, is get those nasty blockchain drivers off of our rig. Alright, as you can see here, guys, if you're not familiar, I'm actually using ConnectWise. It's called Screen Connect to remote into the rig. So the first thing we want to do is open up DDU, and we want to delete all the drivers, all the AMD instances that are currently on this machine. And before I do that, I want to show you Device Manager. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Vega 56s. All right. So let's go ahead and click DDU. Run through the installer. Now, we want to click Display Driver Uninstaller. All right. Now, it's given me a warning message that I'm not in safe mode. Generally, when I do this, I do reboot the computer. I hold the Shift key down and click here on Windows 10, and then power, and then restart. And it's going to take you through a set of prompts. You go to troubleshooting, and then you're going to restart the computer, and it will come up in safe mode. I've never really had any issues not putting it in safe mode, but I'm sure for the cleanest uninstall, safe mode is probably the best. But again, if I do that now, unfortunately I won't be able to record it because I'll kill the rig. So we're going to go ahead and clean and restart. Highly recommended. AMD, make sure you're on AMD, not NVIDIA or Intel. We're going to click clean and restart. And you're going to see that in the log it's going to start showing you right here that it's removing everything, and as soon as it gets done it's going to go ahead and reboot. So I'll go ahead and pause the video until it gets done with its stuff, and then start the video when it comes back. Alright guys, we're back. So largely irrelevant for going to Cast XMR, but if you were running XMR before, there's some things you might want to check out before you go any further. You guys that are doing a clean install, you don't have to worry about this, but if you were running XMR Stak with JJ's hash rate monitor, you would want to make sure that it doesn't actually start up with Windows anymore upon reboot. So I'm going to go to Task Manager. I'm going to go to Startup, and we can see here JJ's hash rate monitor. I'm going to go ahead and disable that so that we don't start up on boot. And if I want to go back, I can simply enable it later on. But I've got a feeling that these Adrenalin drivers are going to make me never want to go back to the blockchain driver setup. We'll see. Alright, so if I go to Device Manager, I can now see that I've got 5 Microsoft Basic Display Adapter showing up in Device Manager under Display Adapters, and that's because I don't have any drivers loaded. So let's go load some drivers. Let's go to Downloads, and let's find our driver. It's Windows 10 64-bit Radeon Software Adrenalin Driver. Let's go ahead and double click that. Let's click Install. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video just for a minute while this is going through its paces. Not to waste your time. Alright, so after it gets done extracting all the files, it's going to bring up this. You're going to click Accept and Install. And really important here, once this shows up, you're going to do Custom Install, not Express, but Custom Install. Alright, so what we want to do is uncheck AMD Problem Report Wizard an AMD HDMI audio driver. So the only things that we want to load is the display driver and the AMD settings. Click install. And this will probably take, depending upon the number of cards that you have, the processor that your rig has in it, this is going to take a few minutes. So I'll go ahead and pause. Alright guys, so we want to skip this next screen. We don't need to install the relive section of the driver. So we're going to click skip, and we see Radeon software 18.3.4 has been installed. I'm not really worried about showing AMD what I'm doing or giving them an update, so I'm just going to close this out. It's going to go ahead and show you, it's going to bring up a web browser, and it'll tell you if the driver has been installed successfully. As you can see in the left side, it said congratulations. You can just close this out. Alright, one of the things that you might notice is the fans may be a little bit louder when there's not a driver installed. After the driver's installed, they'll quiet down a little bit. There may be a visual indication as well. Doesn't always happen, but generally the LEDs on the TAC of the Vega 56s and 64s, sometimes the LEDs are completely out, and once the drivers are loaded, you'll hear the fans get quieter and you'll see one LED lit up. It's just kind of a visual cue. Alright, so now guys, we're going to go back to downloads, and let's go ahead and unpack and install Cast XMR. I'm going to say extract all, or whatever unzip method that you have on your machine. And I'm going to go ahead and browse, and I want to put this on my desktop, so I'm going to stick it here. Select folder, desktop, show extracted files when complete, extract. There we go. Now we have the Cast XMR file and a batch file. Make sure you don't click to run this just yet because we're not quite set up. You can right click it, click edit, and this is going to be our configuration file, and we'll walk through this in just a moment. I'll go ahead and put my information in, and the pool that I want and the number of cards. But before we do that, we need to look at the regedit and some Powerplay tables. Powerplay tables allow us to use far less power than the factory TDP. Generally speaking, I get full hash power at about 145 to 160 watts per card, which is pretty good. Alright, so what I want to do is go to so we're going to type in Vega mining guides.com, and Circus Dad is the one who put this together. If you've never checked this website out before, it's tremendous. I've learned a ton from it. All the props in the world to this guy and JJ, which he's worked in collaboration with. Great website. Takes you from start to finish. A lot of what I'm covering with you, I learned months ago on this website. So let's go to soft Powerplay tables. And you see here that there's a 1100 megahertz HBM 905 millivolt. We're going to click on that, and this is going to take you to the Powerplay table. We can go ahead and download this, and it's going to download as a text file. So now I can close this out, go back to downloads, And we're going to see the save text as 1100 megahertz. First thing I want to do is right click. I want to create a new folder. Go ahead and put this on my desktop. I'm just going to name it Powerplay. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and drag this over to the Powerplay table, or the Powerplay folder, and open up the Powerplay folder. And very important here, guys, whenever you apply these Powerplay tables to the registry, or the registry editor, they have to be numbered correctly. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment, but it's very important that you can get in and edit this properly and put the right number in and apply it to the card, to the registry file that you want to apply it to. So I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up. Very important step here. So you can see at the end here, this is the string, H key, local machine, control set, or current control set, current, can't talk today, current control set, control, class, and then this number followed by the actual card number. So you can see what I mean. Let's go ahead and come down to the bottom and type in regedit. Alright, let's go ahead and minimize that. Minimize that. And as you can see, I have already been in here before, and I'm already opened up to this string. So very important that you apply your registry file or your Powerplay table to the correct registry file. You can mess up your Windows installation, you can mess up the card. When I say the card, I mean the driver, which just kind of a pain in the butt. You would have to uninstall everything and reinstall. So obviously we don't want to have to do that. Alright, so let's look at this. 0000 is looks like a basic or an onboard driver. We're not going to apply that Powerplay table to this. It's going to do us no good and possibly mess up our installation. Let's look at 0001. Same thing here. One thing that you're looking for is the presence of AMD, which you will clearly see in here. I don't see that in here, so let's go to number 2. Alright, so this looks like, as you can see, AMD. This looks like our first actual graphics card. So looks like 0 and 1 are onboard display adapters, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it looks like we've got an odd number here. So let's go ahead and go down through here and see what is what. That is AMD 4, AMD 5, AMD 6, AMD, and 7. So we're in uncharted territories. This is the first time I've seen this. Looks like an extra driver. Oh, GeForce GTX 1070. You know, we should probably go delete that. It's a good thing this happened during the tutorial, because now I can show you what you have to do to delete old drivers. So we're going to go ahead and delete it so it's not interfering with anything else. Realize the bottom of the screen's cut off here, guys, but I'm just going to Device Manager, and I'm going to go to Display Adapters, and you can see I've got 5 Radeon RX Vegas. What we're going to do is go to View, and Show Hidden Device. Ah, there it is. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070. Looks like at one time this was my former test bed. I had a 1070 on here, so what we're going to want to do is right-click it, uninstall device. We're going to delete the driver software for this device. All right, there we go. Now it disappeared, so it is gone. So it looks like that's going to hang around the registry. That's okay right now. We could go back to DDU if you really wanted to and run the DDU uninstaller for the NVIDIA card, but I've been running this rig on XMR Stak for quite a while, and that driver hasn't caused any problems. But the key thing that we need to keep in mind here is our actual Vega cards are 0002 through 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? So now that you've seen this schema, we're going to minimize that. We're going to go back to our text file. Now do you see 0000? What this does is saves it to the specific card that you want to save it to. So we don't want to do 0000, we don't want to do 0001, and we don't want to do 0007. So our first card is going to be 2. And we're going to go ahead and save as. Very important step here, guys. Very important step. We're going to go ahead and edit this. We're going to remove this. It's just going to be 1100 HPM at 905 millivolt dot reg. We're going to go ahead and do a _2 for card number 2. Next important step, all files. Okay, all files, so it can actually save it as a registry. If you leave this as a text document, it's just going to save it as a text document, and when you try to open it, it won't actually apply the registry. So all files, then we're going to save it. All right, we're going to come up here and go through this again. File 3, save as. Important, if you're doing it like this, you're going to want to put a .reg for .reg. Again, all files, save. Oh, you see, I messed up 04. I didn't put the .reg after. Very important. We'll go back and fix that in just a moment. All files, _5.reg, save. We're going to do 6. And then file, save as. _6. And again, do what I said the first time, which I didn't do for number 4, but all files, .reg, save. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and then I'm going to open up the Powerplay again, and we're going to go fix number 4 here. All right, so this is 4. Let's fix this guy. Save as. .reg, and all files. Now you can see, I'm going to go ahead and delete this text file, which I don't need anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy as well, which is the original file. So now you can see 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and open up the regedit right here so you can see this happen. We're going to go to file number 2, or card number 2 in the regedit. And now I'm going to double click, left click the regedit file. Basically it's telling me I'm fixing to add something to the registry. Am I sure I want to continue? We're going to say yes. The keys and values contained in this document have been successfully added to the registry. Okay, so we're going to want to do that to every single card. Alright, now that we're done, we can go ahead and close this Powerplay folder. I put this here because I want to keep it handy. What you're going to find out is sometimes they don't apply. So if we need to go back in and try to reapply it, we will. Alright, so let's go and look. Profile 02. We're going to scroll down to the P's. Alright, and we can see right here, soft Powerplay table. So that means it was successfully added to the registry. One other thing we're going to do, just like if we were using the blockchain drivers, so we're going to go up here to enable ULPS and enable crossfire. A flag of 1 in the registry means on, and a flag of 0 means off. So we want to disable crossfire. So we're going to double click it and just hit 0 and then OK. And you can see that that flag now changed to 0. Enable ULPS, that's going to be a 0 as well. So those are the 3 things that we need to do. Disable, enable crossfire autolink, and disable, enable ULPS. And then make sure that our Powerplay table was applied. And we're going to do this for the other cards. I'll go ahead and pause the video. When I get done, I'll come back. No reason for you guys to waste time watching me do the same process. Just make sure that you do apply it to, in this instance, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright guys, so I've went ahead and applied the 0, or turned off the enable ULPS and enable crossfire 0, 0. Make sure you do this for every card. It's very, very important. Let's just go back and spot check me. Let's go to, let's say 4. Alright, 0, 0. And ensure that the Powerplay table was applied to the registry, which it was. There we go. So that's it for that section. So what I need to do now is go ahead and bounce this machine. Let's go ahead and give it a fresh start. Let's make sure that the crossfire enables itself upon startup. After you've disabled it, it will not do that anymore. So we're going to go ahead and bounce the box and make sure that it comes back up with those flags turned off. I'll go ahead and pause and I'll be right. Alright guys, we're back. Just came back from our fresh reboot. So next thing we're going to do is go to the Radeon Settings. I'm going to go ahead and right click this, pin this to my taskbar down at the bottom so I can get to it relatively easy. And we're going to open this up. What we're looking for is Wattman. This takes a little bit to load. Alright, so be patient with the AMD Radeon Settings. It's very slow. Don't really understand why, but it is very slow. We're going to go to Gaming, Global Settings. Like I said, very, very slow. And if you see the little blue thing going around, that's normal. Even if the screen whites out like it's crashing, that's normal as well. Alright, so let's maximize this. The beautiful thing about this is we don't have to worry about HBCC memory. A lot of guides you see will show you turning this on and turning it back off, applying it and turning it back off, running this all the way over. It's not really relevant and doesn't help your hash rate out at all. So as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Radeon settings. And then over here we start Radeon RX Vega Wattman. This is what we want to do. And it does take a little while, so just be patient. So each one of these, obviously, as you've already seen, stand for each one of the cards. Alright, and it's gonna, the first time you open it, it's gonna give you their little disclaimer, blah blah blah, accept. Alright. Alright guys, so the first thing that we want to do is there's different pre-made settings, tabs. We're gonna want to go to custom, and the first thing you see is that 1100 clock setting. Now, technically, the Powerplay table that we applied was meant for a Vega 64 card. I can tell you with many hundreds of hours of experience, doesn't matter. What we're looking for is the lower power consumption, which on the stock settings is way up here. So we have dropped it tremendously. But like I said, the first thing is custom. We can see here the frequency is 1100. We don't really want it at 1100. You would be in store for an instant crash. That's why we haven't tried to run the miner yet. So we're going to type in 945, which is the factory clock. Okay, so it's at 9:45. You see that the clock actually came down for the memory frequency 945, and we're going to adjust the voltage as well. If you saw, I toggled this slider. Every once in a while, the settings act kind of weird, so you just have to toggle it, maybe toggle it off and toggle it back on, and usually it clears itself. Alright, so let's do 905 on this one. Come over here, you see 945, 905. Alright, so our GPU, we're looking at frequency of 1212, 1407, 905, 905. That's actually pretty decent. That's a good place to start. Understand, this guide is to show you how to get the software set up and running on your rig. As far as making voltage adjustments, that's completely up to you. I have found that right at the 905 millivolt level, it seems to be a pretty good sweet spot for these cards. Now, I have experimented with a lot lower, 0.87, 0.80, 0.85, but I've generally found that I might be able to save 5 to 10 watts per card by lowering the voltage that much, but generally it comes at the cost of stability, and that's not what I want to mess with. I want these things running all the time. A couple extra watts that I've saved from the wall doesn't mean a whole lot if I've got a rig that's crashed for 6 hours before I realize it and I can fix it. So let's come down here, and we're going to adjust our fans. So the first thing that we want to do is click to manual, and we're going to run this guy up to, let's just do I like a minimum speed of 1500, and I'm going to run this guy up to 32. Now, in my particular environment, these settings seem to work well. This is something that you're going to have to experiment with yourself to get the proper values. In my particular scenario, this is not gospel that I'm speaking, that you have to set it here. Again, experiment, but in my particular scenario, 1500 and 3200 are pretty good. So basically what this does, if you're not familiar, is it's going to put the minimum fan speed at 1500, which keeps the card cool at idle while you're working on it and everything else. And by the time it gets to your temperature target, it's going to come up to 3200. Again, this is something that you're going to have to play with yourself. All right, so temperature, 85 is fine at the max. Some people don't like that. Some people want 80. Let's just say 80 to make everybody feel better. And I'm going to drop this down to 60. I want to keep that card nice and cool. It is going to run the fans a little bit more, but for me, guys, I would rather replace a fan than the card. So power limit, we're not going to touch. We've already adjusted our power limit with these settings, so that looks good. So we're going to apply this to the card number 1. I'm going to go ahead and save this profile. We'll just call this Vega 56. Okay, you see where it saves the string, where it saves this file, XML file. We're going to save it. All right, and now we're done. So we go to the second card. Basically wait till Christmas, and then after New Year's it'll finally load. All right, we're going to do custom. Technically you don't even have to do that. We can load a profile. Since these are all Vega 56s, we're going to do this. We're going to click it, and as you can see, it adjusted to exactly what we had the other card at. 80 and 60 and 1532, 1212, 1407, 905, 905, 945, and 905. Now, if you're wondering, if you're not familiar with the way AMD locks down the cards, and the reason why people have to use Powerplay tables is because these are power states. These states, 6 and 7, are the only ones that are accessible or able to be changed outside of the Powerplay registry edit. That's why we use the Powerplay table to go ahead and get us in the ballpark of where we want the card to be. And the Powerplay table has always helped me tremendously as far as lowering that power utilization. As you can see here, it already loaded it, so there's no reason to hit apply. As soon as you load the profile and click the profile, it automatically throws it on the card, so there's no reason to do anything else. We're going to go to the next card. All right, and we're going to load profile. Vega 56. There it is. Next card. Now understand, guys, you may have cards that don't run as well, so you may have to create custom profiles for each one of those cards, and that can be a little tricky, and it's a little out of scope of this particular video. So in the future I plan to do another video that will address that. Okay, as you can see here, this is a good thing to happen. As you can see here, it's basically telling me that the profile that I tried to load for Vega 56 is not able to load. And what that means is, although it's a Vega 56, when I purchased the card, somebody had applied the Vega 64 BIOS to it. The Radeon will recognize that, the Radeon settings here will recognize that and will not allow you to apply the Vega 56 to the 64 or vice versa. So we're going to have to create a new profile for this particular card. Alright guys, what we're going to do is create a new profile. What I want to do is walk you through creating a second profile for this Vega 56 with a 64 BIOS. Now the settings are going to be different because I know this card doesn't run to the peak that it should run due to past experience with this card. I'm going to put a little bit different settings than you might imagine, and this is really good to show you from a learning aspect. Not all cards are going to run at the same clock rate, and you may have to run different profiles for every card. So let's go ahead and take this off. And I know this guy doesn't run very well above 1000, so I'm going to put that at 1000. And I might find that that may be too high, so I might have to go back down later. But now I know that card number 4 in the Radeon settings is the Vega 64 BIOS card. For the voltage on a card that doesn't really run very well, what you'll find is that if you raise the voltage just a little bit, give it a little bit more voltage, the card will generally be a little more stable, even if you have to bring the clock rate down. So 950 on that guy. You have to click out of the field for it to show up. All right. We're going to go ahead and look at this. Yep. So 1407 1212 tells me that it is a flashed card. So we're going to leave these top two numbers alone, and we're going to turn that to manual. I'm going to go ahead and put these at 925. We'll take my change here, 25. All right, and then I'm going to come back down here and hit my slider and do 1500 minimum. Come over here and do 3200. There we go. We're going to do 80 over here. And we're going to do 60 here. We're going to keep this card nice and cool. All right. So we're done with our settings, guys. Again, we might have to come back if you find that you do not have the stability that you should have. The miner runs for several minutes or a couple hours and then decides to crash. That's generally in your settings. It's generally in your clock rates and voltage levels, and you're going to have to massage that for your individual setup. Again, this is just kind of a guide on how to go through. I can't speak to each one of your individual cards. I might be the Vega Whisperer, but it's hard for me to find out what you guys have each, individually in your own environment. So we're going to go ahead and apply this. And now we're going to save this as a new profile. This is going to be Vega 56 with 64 BIOS. And I'm going to save that. All right. Now we're going to come over here to the last card, and we're going to apply the 56 settings. profile, Vega 56, click open. See, it changed it to what we want. All right, now we can actually close this out. All your settings are saved. Now guys, this is very important. Remember, you don't necessarily have to do this every single time it reboots, but if you do have a crash of any sort, if you have a driver crash on any one of the cards, the AMD settings will automatically clear themselves and go back to factory default, whatever the Powerplay table, whatever the card, settings are. So if you have a crash, very, very important, if you have a crash, you have to go back into AMD settings and reset each one of these profiles for each one of the cards. If you don't, you'll find out really quick when you restart the miner and it crashes immediately or in 30 seconds. All right. So that's it. We're going to, as far as the settings, that's it. We're going to go in here and edit the batch file. Open this up. Now, obviously, this is a default file. We're going to need to change. We've got Cast XMR Vega -S, and this is the pool. We're going to need to change the pool and the port number. Then you have a username. This is going to be your wallet, whether it be your Monero, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, my Ether wallet. Whatever your address is, that's where this goes. And then we're going to give it, after that, we're going to do a -G and give it a number. And that number will represent a card. And we're going to have to find out which cards, which numbers we have to line up in succession to make all 5 cards work. Sometimes it's as simple as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for a 5-card rig, and other times it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll find out really quick when we go to start this guy up. If the program immediately crashes, we know that the number that we've inputted here does not work. We're not going to fire this thing off with all 5 cards yet because I want to make sure that we have all the cards numbered properly in this configuration file. So a normal file would look something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. I've seen a lot of guys remove this at the end. Honestly, it doesn't really matter whether you do or whether you don't, at least in my experience with Cast Miner or Cast XMR. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off. And because I'm putting my public address in, I know it's my public address, but obviously the pools that I'm going to mine to, I'll tell you, we'll go ahead and put that in. But the address I'm going to obscure by not showing you what my address is, even though it's public and it's super safe, blah, blah, blah. Still don't want to put my information in a YouTube video, so I'm not going to. Let me pause the video real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm going to copy and paste. Obviously, this is NanoPool for Monero. I'm not mining Monero currently. I am mining Electroneum, and I happen to like Hash Vault. There's plenty of pools out there. Whatever you want to choose from, guys. Whatever you like, whatever your preference is. That's what we have. Now we have plenty of stuff to choose from. All right, so username, I'll go ahead and put that in once I'm done. But this particular pool, not all pools, do require a password, or you will it will immediately close out of the program. So I'm going to put a -P, and I'm just going to say YouTube. Alright, and I'm going to pause the video again. I'm going to go ahead and save this file as is, and then enter my wallet address, and then I'll go ahead and save this file after I do that and close it. But we're going to, before I do that, we're going to save it as all files, and I like to save it as a .bat. Okay, it's a bat file. All files run bat. Save. It already, you know, it's already there. It's asking if we want to replace it. We're going to put yes. All right. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll come back after I've done this. All right, guys. So we're basically at the end. We're going to have to tweak a little bit on the config file, but all the work that we've currently done, or that we did in this video, we're now done with, and we're ready to run the miner. So let's go ahead and start the miner up. We're going to click run. And this is one card. Looks like that one card is at 1961 hash. Alright, let's close this out. Alright guys, so I've went ahead and edited my config file 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and resaved the file, and as you can see, we now have all 5 cards running at over 9600 hash. If you remember at the beginning of the video, we were around 8600, which I picked up another 1000 hash. Absolutely nothing to get against XMR Stak. I'm sure I could have optimized the settings further, but on the blockchain drivers, the stability was always a big issue, and unfortunately, as of the time I'm producing this video, the XMR Stak does not work with the Adrenalin Drivers, and being that the Adrenalin Drivers seem to run these cards a whole lot better, and the only reason you couldn't run them before is because of the 2 threads and some of the other settings issues that you would run into on the XMR Stak. And before the 9.0.2 release of Cast XMR, you weren't able to get full hash rate out of these cards. So what you're seeing is 1000 hash improvement with nothing but drivers on the same rig. I didn't touch a single thing. The rig's sitting about 20 feet from me right now. I haven't touched it, didn't even walk over to it, just remoted in, changed the drivers, and changed the mining program, and here you go, an extra 1000 hash out of the same rig. Currently, if you look at the timestamp, this guy's been running for a few minutes, maybe 10, almost 15 minutes now. I'm going to run it a little longer to check stability, but as you can see, the fans are staying pretty low. Hash power is high. Looks like I've reached my target of 60C. They're right under 60C, so those fans might spool up a little bit more, but guys, that's a tremendous gain. That's a huge gain, and I expect that the 470, 480, 570, 580 guys, Vega 56 guys are all going to benefit from this new Cast XMR version. Guys, that's pretty much it for my video. I appreciate you hanging in there and watching this, and I hope this can help a lot of folks out there. Please post your questions below. If this is the first time you've watched a video on our channel, we're going to be doing a lot of cool things around Vega mining. We're getting a building tomorrow that we're going to turn into a mining farm. So I hope you come back. If you like the video, like, subscribe, share, and click the bell for me. And you'll be alerted to any new videos that I produce from here on out. Thanks again, guys. I hope this was helpful. Again, put your comments and questions below. Vega Whisperer out.